So, Andy, can we look back at last Saturday's match at Jersey? What are your reflections on that now, a few days later?
Well, obviously, disappointment that we managed to concede so many points. We don't go out, or the players don't go out intending for that to happen. And sometimes it's very difficult to know how that does happen. It's the first time this season that we've probably had a predicament where we we conceded a try, kicked off, and conceded another try. And that's really, really difficult to deal with. It's difficult for the players themselves. It's difficult for Jack when he sort of ends up behind the post 30 seconds after the last time he was behind the post. How do you keep telling the players to keep going? They do keep going, but it's difficult to get positives out of that sort of scenario. So a certain element of disappointment. We've had a chat about it, not specifically about that. We took the opportunity on Tuesday night to sort of say, right, we've played 10 games, there's 20 to go, and then talk about what we feel has happened in the first 10 games and what we can do to improve both individually and as a team. So we've reflected on it and then we moved on from it.
Okay, so training this week, is the focus sort of skills, fitness, all of those things?
Well, we talked. Say on Tuesday night, we had a long chat. It wasn't a finger wagging. It wasn't a noisy. It was a very matter of fact type meeting, but it was an opportunity for them to come back to us. And I think we all agree that we need to get stronger. We need to get fitter. Our skills need to improve. Our tactical awareness needs to improve. So all little tiny things. Some of them will be easier to do than others. Skill training clearly is something you can work on. Strength takes a while to add on, and in some of the bodies it's going to take a good long time, certainly to do it legally. And then fitness, is something they ought to be working on. And we just sort of ask the question that do they feel that they are doing it? Because with them being so widely spread, there is no way of monitoring them as a group. You're sort of hoping that on Mondays and Wednesdays they're going into the gym and doing things. So we talked about that and how that would improve the game, setting individual goals during a game so that the fact that they do lose and lose heavily, as in the case of last weekend, there's individual goals for them to attain. Now, Rob Green has sort of done this a couple of weeks on the trot for the forwards, and so it means that despite a heavy defeat, they can go to Rob to find out whether they've actually hit their own personal goals, and there's quite a sort of an air of excitement to know whether they've managed it, and then there's a sort of a league table that the forwards have running as to who's at the top of it. So it's good that they can get a positive out of such a heavy defeat, really.
Okay, so last week we announced the signing of two players, Paul Archer and Dave Ferguson, and Dave played on Saturday. What can you tell us about them?
Well, Dave, I suppose, unfortunately got chucked into the Lions' den. The sort of situation is at the moment with injuries and unavailabilities that you get a sniff of somebody who's turned up and looks half decent on the training pitch. They don't really get a lot of time to bed in. And poor old Dave got thrown straight in at the deep end, literally on Saturday. He's probably, by his own admission, lacking a little bit of match fitness because he hasn't played for a little while. He had no idea what some of the things that we were trying to do, both in attack and defence. And after the game, he was sort of he was shell shocked by, what had happened, and B, what he was trying to do, and obviously found himself getting tired quite quickly. And he's unfortunately not available this weekend, so he's not really even got a chance to sort of come in again and try and improve on things and get used to everybody. But he came down to the area, moved down. He'd been playing up at Lincoln, so there's a bit of a step up in level from him in that respect. But he looks okay on the training park, and I'm sure once he gets his fitness and gets used to the players and what we're trying to do, we'll see a better performance from him. Paul Archer, we did sign him last week, and he was unavailable for us last weekend, but is available this week. Paul looks pretty useful on the training park. He's an open side wing forward by by choice, although he can play six as well. He's also been playing a lot of sevens in the summer, so he's quite fit. He's got good hands, and he's quite quick around the park. And he's 27, 28 years old, so he's the sort of player we've been looking for a little while. Has a bit of experience, has a bit of size to him, and hopefully, whilst we don't want to sort of burden him with too many responsibilities in his first game, hopefully he can just settle some of the younger players down a bit by showing them around the park. He's come down from Derby, but he was only playing at Derby because of his own work commitments up there. He has played for clubs in the in National One and what is now the Championship. So he's played at a reasonable level, and hopefully we can make him a regular in our team and see what he can do.
Okay, great. So Saturday we've got a members' day, haven't we? We've got a brunch, I think, in the Wicken Suite. First team match, England on the telly, and then a band playing in the evening.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that we're able to do that. We identified that it was an England game quite early on in the season, and the last thing we want to do is have supporters sort of wondering where they might want to go. We want them to come to watch us and then be able to watch the rugby on the TV. So by kicking off a bit earlier, it allows for that to happen, and then the people that run the bar and food organised a band that follows straight after that. So hopefully, we'll put on a decent performance. England will beat Australia, and everybody will want to stay behind and have a few beers and sing along to the band. The players are, I think, organising some sort of themed fancy dress for themselves. I feel it's important that they enjoy the other aspects of rugby. I think sometimes you can get tied up in results and performances, and it's important that they are in everybody's mind. But I think we also need to realise that these guys are playing for nothing, and they play because they enjoy playing rugby. They play because they enjoy playing with each other, and we shouldn't forget that the whole thing is all about enjoyment at the end of the day. And so I said to them, why don't we make this a bit of a social as well? I'm not expecting them to go and get absolutely legless, but I just want them to sort of get away from rugby after the game. Because one of the things we said in the meeting was, you have to sort of respect the fact that these guys, despite the heavy defeats that they're having, are coming back week after week. We've got no hold on them. There's no contract for them to break. They could just say to me, look, and I don't fancy it anymore, and there'd be nothing I could do to stop them. But they don't. They probably get a hard time at work or hard time at university. They certainly get a hard time when they go into town and meet other people. But they take it on the chin and come back, and we have to be sort of admire that sort of resolve and thank them for doing it. Because if it wasn't for them doing it, then we would never get a team out. So it's important that they enjoy themselves as well.
Okay. So do you know who's in the team on Saturday?
No.
Or at least the squad? A rough idea.
It's getting harder and harder each week. I just said to somebody earlier today that Wednesday afternoons now I'm starting to hold my breath because we've got 2 or 3 guys who play university rugby, and you sort of hope that you don't get a text on Wednesday night, Thursday morning saying I've picked up an injury. And this week we did. So having not had Martin and Tom Fiddler available to us last week, and we did miss them. I mean, they, no disrespect to them, but they weren't going to win the game for us, but they were going to bring that sort of stability that the side needed. So they're back in the fold. But I have heard that Jack Taggart, who did come off on Saturday as well, didn't manage to play very much for the university yesterday, so he's coming to see the physio. Oscar's the same. Hopefully he'll be coming down to see the physio. So those 2 that played last week who are now injured. 1 or 2 that weren't available. So Ian Herriot's available for us again, so that's good. But it'll be a bit of a juggling round. But I can certainly give you a squad of 400, of which 399 are injured. Obviously Tom will be in there, and Robbie Arthur. Robbie's fighting fit. Andy Widdop, Nathan Thomas. Hopefully, Nathan's had a couple of weeks off with a neck injury, and hopefully he'll be fit. Although we're still struggling a little bit, and if Nathan is struggling, then obviously Tom Bax will be called upon to travel down from Cardiff again. Tom Sanders, so that gives us our front row options. Andy Cannock and Ben West. Paul Archer, who's obviously the new forward, and Ollie Spanswick. Jack Taggart, hopefully, but Claude is also available to us. Jack Avery, Will Clark and Lloyd Cole. Joe Gren, Ian Herriot, Martin Freeman, Andy Gale. Hopefully Oscar will be okay. And then there's Ed Findlay and Harry Sparks. So that's more than we need. But the exact starting lineup, it will be dependent on physio reports tonight and possibly even tomorrow morning. So we'll see.
Okay, well, let's hope that works out.